I'm sure that you, like me, would like to do more for the environment, would like to have a lower environmental impact. So you might have wondered, well, should I be using paper cups? It's a good question, and it's one that we're going to look at in a bit more detail. The paper cup has become something of an icon of the coffee industry. And when the Americanized version of Italian coffee culture spread around the world and coffee shops became more like fast food restaurants, coffee on the go really flourished. The old Italian model was really about taking time out of your day and going and having a coffee, taking a break. But now it was all about coffee anytime, anywhere. More than that, paper cups are what allowed this new style of coffee to become financially viable. Coffee shops couldn't survive if they just sold coffee to people sitting inside. Over time, cups became expressions of brand, and the cup that you held in your hand said something about who you were. There is, however, a problem. These cups produce a staggering amount of waste, tens of thousands of tons. What's confusing is that it seems like they can be recycled. Some cups even say so. But if you put one into a recycling bin, you pretty much consign it to landfill. Here's the problem. A paper cup is made of more than just paper. In order to make it waterproof and to stop hot drinks spilling into your lap, the inside of a paper cup is coated with a thin layer of plastic, and in order to recycle the cup, you'd have to separate that plastic from the paper. And in the UK, only 3 companies are currently able to do that right now. How bad is the paper cup problem? Well, reports say that we use about 2.5 billion paper cups per year, which seems bad, but that is actually only about 0.1% of total UK waste, and only about 0.7% of total UK packaging waste. In some ways not as bad as it looks, but definitely a problem, and these cups are also a very visible problem when they're left unlittered. Now in the UK, the government is proposing what it's calling a latte levy, a 25p charge on any takeaway cups. This is off the back of supermarkets charging for single-use plastic bags.
Data from retailers shows that just over 500 million bags were used in the first 6 months after the charge was introduced, a drop of around 90%.
Now, I'm not a fan of this proposal because I believe it's too high a tax, it's charged at the wrong time, and it sort of treats coffee demand as inelastic. And I think in truth it would have a massive negative impact on coffee shops. So let's look at some alternatives. And the first and most obvious one would be the porcelain cup. Is this better? Well, obviously yes. In 1994, a study was published by Hocking that looked at the number of times you'd have to use a porcelain cup before it was better than a paper cup. And it took into account the energy of manufacture, as well as things like how much energy it took to wash the cup each time you used it. And you'd need to use a cup like this at least 50 times. That number goes up quite a lot depending on how it's washed. If a dishwasher is inefficient or only half full, that number leaps up quite dramatically. In fact, his calculations showed that the energy it took to wash a porcelain cup was almost identical to the energy required to make a styrofoam cup. And then we have reusable cups. Now, companies like Keep Cup and others have really exploded in the last few years. They're very, very, very popular. And Keep Cup themselves say that you would need to use their cup 15 times before it's better than a paper cup, which seems pretty doable. However, they're not without their drawbacks. Baristas often complain that customers hand them over still dirty from the usage before and expect them to clean it. That's not okay. Secondly, it can be a challenge for a coffee shop to fill appropriately a random-sized reusable cup. Sure, some of these are demarcated at 8 or 12 ounces, but some of them may not be. Do you only accept cups if they have accurate volumetric lines on them? How do you fill 8 ounces of liquid in a 10 or 12 or 13 ounce random reusable cup? Annoying little questions for cafe owners to answer. And then we have biodegradables. Now, there's still not a ton of information out there about them. There are, however, a couple of concerns. One, the energy required to manufacture them is much higher. And secondly, they typically require specific pathways of disposal in order to properly break down. Just throwing one into your garden compost won't necessarily mean it'll break down and naturally degrade. So a little bit like paper cups, you need to dispose of them properly in order to have a lower environmental impact. In summary, are paper cups bad? Well, yes, but if all we're going to do is switch our paper cups out for porcelain cups or reusable cups and not make any wider effort in our day-to-day lives, then we're pretty much wasting our time. Maybe it should just be a symbol of a much wider effort that we make in our personal lives. It's a good start, but we've got a lot more to do.